What?
Now, for the fellow nerds out there, and I say fellow because I am also a nerd, HB 1274, House Bill 1274, retroactively gets rid of what's known as juvenile points from an offender's score. Now, here's what this means. You are an adult. Let's say Jackson, as an adult, committed some sort of crime. You seem like the kind of person to do, honestly, white-collar crime of some kind. You stole pennies at a time from Bonneville, Seattle, via
like an Office Space,
a software program that you put into place. I don't know this movie that you speak, but we'll talk about what it is you do here in a bit. So let's say you get caught for that. You get in front of a judge, you're found guilty after a jury, blah, blah, blah. The judge looks at your background and says, actually, you did the exact same thing when you were a juvenile. And as a result of that, instead of getting 2 years in prison, you get 3 years. I'm making these numbers up. Because you had a history as a juvenile, and that counts towards your score to determine how many years you're going to be behind bars. Because remember, all of this is set legislatively. The general amount of time that you can spend in jail for a crime. What House Bill 1274 would do is retroactively take away the extra points you received for committing the crime as a juvenile. And part of that is we add that to your list because you're clearly not learning. You're clearly continuing this criminal behavior. In many cases, it's even worse as an adult than it was as a teen. So let's say this bill passed. Jackson gets to go in front of a court and say, actually, you gave me 3 years, but I only needed 2 based on this bill. And so they have to resentence you to the 2 years, which could be up tomorrow. Now, in cases in which there, were egregious crimes committed, victims who were assaulted or worse, you understand, I hope, that a prosecutor, in almost every case, ends up offering a plea deal to the bad guy. And the plea deal is better accepted by victims when you tell the victim, hey, at least under this, it's guaranteed to lead to a sentence of insert however many years. I know it's tough to accept a plea deal, but if we don't do it, this person might not spend any time in jail, at least under the current terms. He's spending 25 years in jail. So the victim's saying, okay, fine. I wish you could just go forward and guarantee he's going to spend even more than that. I'll take the 25. Well, under this bill, it says, hey, victims, shut up. You don't matter anymore because we're just going to automatically go down to 12 years or whatever it happens to be. Now, if you're Debra Lekanoff or Lekanoff, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She is a representative from Olympia. Although I don't have to tell you she's a Democrat, you'll be able to ascertain that from the clip. I want you to listen to the argument that she makes in favor of telling an adult felon we're no longer going to count your criminal history as a juvenile and we're going to release you from prison earlier. Why would anyone support something like this?
This bill is a time for Washington State to look at their juvenile system and really look at the behavioral and mental health. It's time to look at our incarcerated system and understand for juveniles there is a time that they have been challenged in times that they've faced, but this bill provides an opportunity for us, Mr. Chairman, to review, to assess, and by merit, and by the integrity of all Washingtonians, to think about what are we going to be doing for the future of Washington State when we look at our juvenile incarcerated systems, and how do we bring, Mr. Chairman, those youth and those children forward and heal them in a place as all Washingtonians should do, in my point of view, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Based upon what she just said there, even just taken on its merits, it's ludicrous. But kind of sounds like she's talking about juveniles, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. This bill is not about juveniles, is it?
Nope.
It's about adults who committed crimes when they were juveniles. I suppose you can maybe make a connection in that regard. But this is not a bill that does anything to the juvenile rehab system, does it?
No.
Not even a little bit. This has literally no impact whatsoever. So one of two things is at work here. She's lying to you or she has no clue what the bill is. And based on a conversation we're going to have later today with State Representative, a Democrat, Lauren Davis, I'm a guess that our friend Debra there has no clue what it is she's talking about, didn't read the bill, doesn't understand the bill, doesn't understand what its intent was. and simply was being told that this is about juveniles because juvenile made its way into the title of this particular bill. I guarantee you, as much as I would love to point out a lawmaker who's lying to you, this is a case based on those comments. She has no clue what the bill is.
She couldn't even go on Spark Notes and just look up, the
nothing. She couldn't even have some intern read the 4.5-page bill and give her those details, which apparently you had to leave up to Wenatchee Republican State Representative Brian Burnett.
Is this bill really about juveniles,
No.
or is it about resentencing for
That
adults
one.
who
It's
committed
that one.
crimes as adults?
It's about that
In this
one.
legislation, the only thing that qualifies someone to be resentenced is the fact that in addition to victimization people as adults, they also victimized people as juveniles. This sentence is all but automatic, and the judges are required to resentence the defendant to a new sentencing range by subtracting all of their juvenile points and recalculating the sentence time. And I guess resentencing should just not be taken lightly, and it most certainly should not be automatic.
Yeah, I'm aside with the sane person in this conversation, and he's on the right side of this. What's maddening to me is because I believe that Debra Lekanoff has no clue what she was talking about. She was under the false impression that this bill might have been about juveniles, that she's seated there alongside all the other Democrats, and she hears Brian Burnett talking at this committee hearing and either thinks he's lying or that he didn't read the bill, when it's that he knows that Debra didn't read the bill or is lying. There's some irony, I think, in all of that, perhaps. This is a horrible bill. It has nothing to do with healing. It has everything to do with releasing bad guys from jail earlier than they otherwise should be released. This is part, frankly, of a long-term strategy from the left to depopulate our prisons. As much as I think Debra Lekanoff has no clue what she's talking about here, this is not her bill. This bill comes from someone else, Stearns, I think. He knows what's in this bill. He wrote it, or someone wrote it on his behalf. There was this rumor going around that this was a bill that was being pursued by our tribes, and we're supposed to just say yes to everything when a tribal request comes in, except they don't support this bill, at least not all of them. This is a horrible idea, which is why it already passed out of a committee and is going to go on to another vote. But that also means you all get to intervene by being that one person who maybe makes that one phone call or sends that one email where you're just spending a minute of your time saying, hey, could you please not support this bill because of X, Y, and Z? And of course, you should be civil when making these calls or sending these emails to your Democrat lawmakers. But if you want to make sure that this bill dies rather than get pushed through because no one wants to admit on the left, other than maybe Lauren Davis, that they don't know what's in this bill that they're about to pass. If you're okay with that, sit back, don't do anything. If you find that to be not merely objectionable, but terrifying, maybe make this the opportunity that you jump on to push back. I've got all the details over at KTTH.com.